This is the Louie T Network.
Louie T Live. Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren, or that is a microcosm of how I'm feeling right now. Who else could it be? But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Winners and Losers, Week 16 edition. Kind of getting everything set up here. Just got home. Tried to do a little bit of shopping today. Didn't go as planned. So, really didn't get a lot done in the way of shopping today. So, got a lot to do tomorrow. But in any event, we push forward. You know, Christmas is sneaking up on me this year. Today's the 21st. I was driving, and it didn't hit me until I was driving earlier today. And I drove past the bank. And, you know, on the bank marquee, they give you, you know, certain banks, they'll give you the day of the week, the actual date, and it'll give you the temperature outside and the time. And I just happened to see it as I was going by, and it said December 21st, 8:39. 49 degrees. And I said, or 39 degrees. I said, wow. It's December 21st. Christmas is in 4 days. I literally got to get on my horse, man. I got to giddy up. I got a lot of stuff to buy still, and not a lot of time to buy it. So, can't have too many more wasted days in terms of shopping. So, let today be the last. In any event, welcome to the program. I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me on Winners and Losers. Try to make this as efficient a program as possible. It was an easy week. I told you last week that Week 15's games were going to be really easy, and everybody's going to get back into the winner's circle. And that's exactly what everybody pretty much did. You know, it was one of those weeks where you could afford to go out on a limb on a couple of games and still be well above the 10-win threshold. I mean, you had to be really special to not get over 10 this week. This was one of the easiest weeks. And the part that makes it even more easier than some of the easier weeks we've had, like say 3-4 weeks ago when everybody won, is that teams were still playing for something then. There are probably about 5 to 7 teams that have quit already this season, and they're just not good. Whether injuries, guys have gone on IR that were trying to battle through injuries and they realize, okay, nothing to play for, I need surgery, or there's no reason to keep going through this rigmarole, god damn, of trying to play hurt when we're not a good team and there's nothing to play for. We're not playing for the playoffs, so how about I just go on IR? So it's a lot easier to identify the bad teams at this point in the season and be able to pick against them. You know, whereas earlier in the year, even if it was an easy matchup, you still didn't know if that other team was going to play hard and still won. We've had upsets before, but I could have really forecast Week 15, and I told you that everybody was going to win pretty much. And that was the case. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm not going to shower a lot of people with praises this week, because if you pick chalk, and for the most part, that's what a lot of you guys have done this year, which is why I'm not that impressed with some of you guys and what you've been able to do. I'm actually more impressed, and of course, I'm biased, but I'm actually more impressed with my record and what I've done this year, because there are a lot of games where I went out on a limb and I actually felt like those were quality picks that, for one reason or another, i.e. Green Bay, Cleveland last week, I'm still mulling over that one. That one still stinks. That was a hell of a pick by me. This week, everybody picked San Francisco. When I was picking San Francisco, when nobody was picking San Francisco, and San Francisco stole one, And now everybody's on the San Francisco 49er train against Tennessee because they're struggling. And I go out and I pick the Titans to win on the road. Everybody, and when I say everybody, literally like 95% of you guys picked San Francisco. And I knew Tennessee could go in there and win. And again, I told you what really frustrates me isn't the outcome. Yeah, I'm pissed off that the Titans didn't win, but it's when you watch the game, it's the way that outcome was achieved that really frustrates you. A lot of you guys don't watch all of the games. So you just see 25-23, San Francisco wins, and you go, oh, last second field goal. That sucks. Well, whatever. But when you go back and you watch Delaney Walker fumble, you watch Delaney Walker drop a touchdown, and you watch all of the things that transpired to allow the 49ers to come away with the 25-23 victory, it makes you sick to your stomach. And that was a quality pick. And I didn't get it done. But damn it, that was a good pick. I picked Kansas City. Everybody, literally 95% of you, there was about 5 to 7 of us out of 47 people that picked Kansas City. That's another great pick by me. I've had a lot of those this year, and I've just come up short. Just come up short on a lot of them, just like that Tennessee game. Really frustrating. Really frustrating when you go out and you make a hell of a pick. You go out on a limb, and for some reason, same thing with Cleveland a couple of weeks ago against Green Bay. Same thing with Tampa 2 weeks straight. You go out on a limb for a team, and they cut the branch off, and you fall flat on your face, and it's frustrating. When all you got to do is go chalk, but chalk is easy. Chalk, anybody can go chalk and win. And generally, the guys that go chalk don't win, especially with the NFL and how unpredictable it is. But this has been a season where, sans for about 3 weeks, if you went chalk, you're probably up 10 or 12 games on somebody like myself that's willing to take a risk here and there. And so, for the most part, you guys have been rewarded for going chalk this year. And I'm not mad at that. You know, I'm not mad at that at all because that's why it's called winners and losers. You easily could have been on the wrong side of those games, and you could have been sitting here complaining and bitching and moaning about not getting wins, but you didn't. You went chalk, and chalk prevailed. And in this year's NFL, for the most part, we've had more easy weeks, which I hate. I despise easy weeks. We've had more easy weeks than we have tough weeks where everybody was struggling. We've had like 2 of those this year where you just look up at like everybody, except for like 3 or 4 people, were losers. We've had about 5 or 6 weeks where it's like, okay, if you didn't get, like this week, I'm sick to my stomach because 12 for me is the cutoff this week. You should have gotten 12, no less than 12 right this week. No reason for you not to. And I didn't get to 12. But again, when you go out on a limb and you make some picks, the one that I shouldn't have made, and I deserve an L for that, was I shouldn't have picked the Indianapolis Colts. They're so bad. And I knew that going into that game. But I said, Denver's just as bad. And if Trevor Siemian didn't get hurt, maybe they find, and it's amazing that Brock Osweiler might have been the difference maker in that game, which is just asinine. And it's almost hard for me to fix my lips to say. But he might have actually been the true difference maker in that game. I should never have picked the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know what I was thinking. I deserve a loss for that, and that's why I didn't get it to 12 this week. But 12 was the cutoff. There's no reason to not have 12 or more this week. It just really isn't. Anything less than 12 is uncivilized, and you should be ashamed of yourself. So I'm ashamed of myself this week. And what I realized after this week is that I'm not going to be able to catch a lot of the people that I thought I would be able to catch, because of some of the mistakes I made in the past and some of the picks that didn't work out for me. And again, I've made some outstanding picks this year, and boy, I tell you, man, some of them, it just hurts when they don't go your way, because I'm so confident in some of these selections, and then to see them almost come to fruition. When it's one thing if you pick a team and they just get their ass whooped, okay, whatever. I was on the wrong side of that one. Didn't see it coming. But when your pick almost gets it done for you, and at the last second, they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and you go down hard, it's tough to stomach, man. Tough to stomach. Sort of like that Pittsburgh game. A lot of people, oh, no way, Brady's going to come back. He's going to be pissed. Oh, yeah? It's not the same Patriots. I've already said that a million times this year. No one's listening, though. And rightfully so. They've earned the respect to not be picked against 2 weeks in a row. They've earned that. Brady's going to be pissed off this week. Okay, that's cool. Should have lost that game. I should have got a win there. But again, can't cry over spilled milk, man. So, it's another rough week for me, man. I'm not going to lie. And at this point, with 2 weeks left, not going to be able to catch a lot of people. Not going to be able to catch a lot of people that should have been right there within striking distance. There was no reason for me not to win 14 games this week. The Titans should have won. The Steelers should have won. The Steelers were robbed. And I shouldn't have picked the damn Indianapolis Colts. I deserve 2 losses for that, actually. I deserve 2 losses for that. Not 1, 2. Should have lost 2 games for that. Because that was a dumbass pick. And so I got what I deserved, really, when it's all said and done. In any event, we're going to get to winners and losers. And like I said, not going to be showering a lot of people with praises. This was a really easy week. You know, these types of weeks disgust me. And we're going to run through these quickly and keep it moving. Because like I said, I don't want to be here that long tonight. And I got here late as it is. So I don't want to keep you guys here longer than I need to. Anyway, you got stuff to do as well. So with that being said, let's jump into the winners from week number 15 in the National Football League. And we start with Squints, who had a stellar week, 15-1. Again, his only loss was his team. He picked the Chargers to win. They didn't. They got their ass whooped. And that was it for him, man. Everything else, spot on. So, outstanding week for Squints. And he was one of the guys on my list to catch. I'm not catching him now. Not after 15-1. I just can't do it. You know, some games that should have went my way. If I could have split the difference with him, win the Steelers game, win the Titans game, he's 13-3, and so am I. And then I'm still staring him right in the face, and I'm looking at him like I'm coming for you. But when the ball doesn't bounce, and this is just, and to me, this week was indicative. And I said it like last week or 2 weeks ago. It's a microcosm of my year picking. I've had a lot of close misses. Tampa Bay's got me at least 2 or 3 times this year where I was like, man, they're going to win this game. Nope. No, they're not. Cleveland. I was so adamant against Green Bay. I knew that was the one. That one still stings. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted that one bad. But Squints, 15-1, he's actually making a power play to try to go and make it interesting for the number 1 spot with that 15-1. So it's a big week for Squints. 14-2. Brown Shoe T2, Hamza Muhammad, Ginger Callum, all 14-2, along with, you would have never, ever guessed, Enrique Valencia. When he first told me on Twitter, I went for it. He said, man, 2 games away. And then he told me the 2 games that he didn't pick right. He said, I should have been perfect. I said, man, be quiet, man. You ain't go no damn 14-2. And somebody immediately tweeted at Enrique and myself, you mean 2-14? I said, yeah, probably closer to that. And no, he really went 14-2. I was amazed. And congratulations to Enrique. He deserves one of these types of weeks. Again, if Enrique is going 14-2, that tells you just what type of a week it was. Okay? That puts everything in its proper perspective. When Enrique goes 14-2, you know it was a cupcake layup week. All you had to do was pick chalk. And that's basically what I told him. I said, just pick all the teams that are favored to win. And this year, if you did that, you probably ended up 14-2 or 13-3 at some point this year. Because for the most part, if you just went with favored teams this year, for like I said, 2 or 3 weeks, you pretty much made out like a bandit. So good for him. Hamza Muhammad sticks out of this group as well because Hamza was like, yo, last week was Hamza's first week, 9-7. Not great, but it wasn't terrible. And remember, last week was a rough one for everyone. So 9-7 wasn't that bad in a week where a lot of us were 8-8, 7-9, things of that nature. So Hamza said, I want to see if last week was luck. Because remember, I made the comment, and I always do when you first start out. We're going to find out what you're really about. And I'd say 14-2, not luck. Now, again, cupcake, easy week. But still got to go out and put up W's Hamza produced W's, 14-2, outstanding week. Brown Shoe T2, that was another person that I was vowing to catch. I think I was tied with Brown Shoes last week, and 14-2 pretty much puts him out of striking distance for me as well. So this week is the week where I figure out that I need to go on IR. Okay, I've been playing hurt all year. A lot of people that I had in my sights to catch, and this is the week where I say, you know what? I pulled my groin 3 weeks ago. It's not getting better. I can't even practice during the week. It's time for me to just go ahead and go on IR and just let this thing heal on up. So a lot of people, Squints, Brown Shoe, Eduardo O'Neill's, a lot of people that I had plans on catching. And had I won those 2 games, I would have been in a position to try to at least make a run. That's dead, man. I needed the Titans to not blow that game, and I needed the Steelers to win. And it's not going to happen now. 13-3. BE back on top by his lonesome, but he's got company. He can't rest. He's got a 1-game lead on Carmen, and there are about 3 other people that are behind by about 3 or 4 games. So if he decides to slip up these final 2 weeks, he could easily find himself on the outside looking in after being the leader in the clubhouse this entire time. BK Soldier 2010, that was somebody that I was trying to box out of the top 10. If I'm not careful, he's going to catch me. So it's been a rough go of it for me. And Walter O'Neal with this 13-3 pretty much sealed the deal. He's going to run away from me. Kanye the God. Nice rebound week for Kanye because it's been a rough past about 3 weeks for him. My man Joe Shop coming in with 13-3. He vowed to get back in the winner's circle. He did it in a major way. Leo Cease has been outstanding. Probably the last month and a half to 2 months, Leo Cease has been outstanding. MJ Mayer looking to pull away from that little conglomerate that I talked about. And I kind of made it a race within a race of some of those guys that came on board at the same time. J. Cam Man, MJ Mayer, Travis B. Well, MJ Mayer looking to separate himself from that pack, 13-3. And I think no one else finished better than him in that little group this week. And so I think MJ is looking to pull away from that group as well. RJ West, he's been lighting it up of late. The Mister, he's starting to heat up, and it's good for him because he was struggling when he first came on board. Jaleel has been inconsistent, but when he's good, he's really good, and 13-3 is really good. And I think we got one more in this group. Kevin, he's also been pretty good of late as well. Probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, Kevin has been pretty strong. As we go to 12-4, Mark Vaughn, Pepe the YouTuber, Disco Jump Rope, the return of Drunk Louie. Drunk Louie with a strong week. Those weren't drunk picks there. As we continue on, Big John has been pretty much status quo this year, man. Him and Sean Mack, when Sean Mack makes his picks, pretty much solid as it gets. Smoking Jay, good to see he's out of rehab and back on the straight and narrow. Money Miz, Carmen Rana. Money Miz said, hey man, I'm zipping the lip and I'm making picks. So Money Miz, strong week at 12-4. Carmen Rana, remember, was tied with BE last week at number 1. Falls behind by a game, but he's still right there. And you know Camarana can strike at any time. My man B. Sully, 12-4. That's a strong week for him. Sin Day Co. with a nice little showing here at 12-4, along with Cloud and Atlas. So Atlas, that's a hell of a week for Atlas because normally Atlas is hovering around 500 or below it. It seems like just about every other week. So 12-4 is an outstanding week for him. Cloud as well. Cloud's another one that you never know what you're going to get. Cloud's picks are like a box of chocolates, man. You just never know what you're going to get. So that's the 12-4 group there as we get to 11-5. And these are the people that either went out on a limb or just didn't make good enough picks. Simple as that. And because really you shouldn't have been under 12-4 this week. To me, that was the cutoff for this week in terms of feeling really good about your picks. Andrew Kim, Travis B, John Niner, who had a nice bounce back week. John Niner was like 5-11 last week. So takes the inverse of what he did last week and turns it on his head. And so he's at 500 now at 16-16. We'll see what he does next week. Young Mello got to the gym early, got some shots up, and he gets to 11-5 this week. My man Jazzy E at 11-5. Man FBG Tony at 11-5 as well. And yours truly coming in at 11-5. Really disappointing effort for me this week. 13-3 is what I had my eyes set on. I couldn't have forecast the Seattle Seahawks massacre. Didn't see that one coming. So, but that was a loss that I was willing to take. I went out on a limb there, and I knew that was a thin branch, and I just didn't expect it to break before I even got a chance to step, foot on it and brace myself. I mean, literally, that game was over before it started. So that was the L that I was willing to take. The second half of games was just tragic for me, just treacherous. I went into the second half of games, and I think I had only lost twice. And I think I lost every single second half game. Every single one of them. Lost the Tennessee-San Francisco game in heartbreaking fashion. Lost the Steelers game in heartbreaking fashion. And the Rams destroyed the Seahawks. So I was terrible in the second half of games. I mean, it was just horrid for me. House of horrors. So, it is what it is. As we get to the 10-6 guys from week number 15, Ricky Lemmeyer, Petey Pablo, J Cam Man 99, Tucktown, AZ, my man J Moo, Toer, Mr. TNA, and all 10-6. Again, it's winning, but you can't feel great about 10-6 in a week where 12-4 should have been to me, the floor. The ceiling was 16-0. It was that type of week. The floor was 12-4. That was the barometer for me. And in a week where 12-4 was pretty much, you could have closed your eyes and got to 12-4. 10-6 doesn't seem good enough. But again, it's enough to get you a dub. So we go from the winners this week to losers. And again, in a week where it's this easy, you're not going to find too many losers, man. 8-8. Vegeta's dark side. Really disappointed in Vegeta's dark side. That's 2 straight weeks of 8-8 for him. And he's been outstanding this year for the most part. Especially of late. But these last 2 weeks have been less than stellar and pretty much disappointing from Vegeta's dark side. I'm looking for a strong finish these last 2 weeks from Vegeta's dark side to rebound and kind of clean up the mess that he's made the last 2 weeks. He's much better than 8-8. In a week where, I mean, again, I don't even know how you get 8. Enrique got 14-2. Understand what I just said. How do you get 8-8 in a week when Enrique gets 14-2? Come on, man. I just don't understand it. And then you got 7-9. And this was a troll job at its finest. I almost didn't count it, but I said, look, the people need to see this, okay? Somebody was being funny, and I can't lie, I got a little chuckle out of it, so I said, why not, man? Passed out drunk Louie at 7-9, and those are passed out drunk picks there. You go below the Mendoza line in a week where 12 was the floor, you got to be passed out drunk making those types of picks. Only thing I don't like is my name was associated with that. I'm not making those kinds of picks. So whoever watched the show last week saw that I had a couple glasses of wine and decided I was going to be passed out drunk while making picks. Those were horrendous picks, and I think they did it on purpose. So in any event, they just get the piss cup for it. It is what it is. No harm, no foul. And we move on. And so before I show you and unveil the latest overall standings for winners and losers this week, I do want to give you a little bit of framework and reference as to what you should be looking for. As we get near the end of the season and we get closer to the finish line, what you should be striving for as a prognosticator is I want you to find the percentage, the win percentage column If you are at worst a solid prognosticator, you should be at or above 60%. If you call yourself someone that is good at analyzing winners and losers, 60% is the mark that you should be aiming for as just a baseline. The best I've ever done throughout an entire season from weeks 1 to 17, I've hit 76% before. That's the highest I've ever hit. I've never been that good, never been even close to it since. That was like 3 years ago. I hit 76% on my picks. I was hot that year. All the upsets, a lot of the weeks where there were tough games and people were struggling, I wasn't. I was in the winner's circle every week but one that year. So that's the mark you're looking to hit. And again, there are going to be some people with some skewed numbers. They didn't make picks the entire season, though. So you're going to see some people with 72, and that percentage is going to come down as you make more and more picks. So for the people that have made picks all season long, and look, even if you haven't, the benchmark is 60%. Anything over that, and you're doing a good job. Because that means for every 10 games, you're getting 6 of them right. That's the way you should look at that. In this league, it's tough to make picks for an entire year and get to 70%. For some of you, you're hovering right around that 70% area. You're going to need a couple of strong weeks to finish out to get there, but you got a shot. But that's what you should be looking for. Obviously, you want to see where you stand, and you want to try to advance your way up the standings in the leaderboard. But I want you to take special interest now that we're getting close to the end. Start looking at that win percentage section. That's going to tell you just how good you've been this year. Win percentage. So with that being said, I'll let you guys take a gander at the overall standings after 15 weeks of football here on Winners and Losers. And then we'll get to comments. And I haven't even looked at the Week 16 picks yet. That's how discombobulated I am. So I'll have to make those live on the air, and we'll get the hell out of here. So here are the overall standings after 15 weeks of football here on Winners and Losers. All right. So hopefully you had a chance to see where you are in the standings, and also take a look at your win percentage, because that's just as important as where you are in the standings. At the end of the day, there's only so much ground you can make up with 2 weeks left, but you want to gauge your progress, and the best way to do that is win percentage. Whether you've picked for 12 out of the 15 weeks, 14 out of the 15, all 15, 10 out of the 15, 7 out of the 15, whatever the case may be, your target goal should be 60% or better. Anything less than 60, and it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. You got to be better. So hopefully you've hit that mark and you finish up strong and give yourself a chance to springboard into next year, potentially with a little bit of momentum. Obviously, there's no real carryover, but you're going to either finish up strong, and I'm going to tell you what, Week 17 is the worst. It's the worst, absolute worst. Because teams literally have packed it in, and then you've got a lot of games that some teams aren't playing their starters because they don't need to. Other teams have mentally checked out. It's just a tough week to predict. It's really bad. So generally, I try to make sure that I put all of my best work before Week 17 just in case something wacky happens and you don't maximize Week 17 the way that you would like to. In any event, let's get to some comments, and then we'll get out of here, man. Let's see now. Let's get to... All right, FBG Tony says, told you I was going double digits. Hey, Tones, it was an easy week, bro. Easy week, broski. I told you everybody was going 10 wins or better this week. B says 13-3, hashtag first place. Eduardo O'Neill says, show the leaderboards. I already did, man. And you just want me to come on and immediately show the leaderboards? Ginger Callum says 14-2, buzzing. Yeah, that was a strong week. John Perez says, can't believe the Skins beat Brian Emerson's Cardinals. Was a pretty fun game, though. You had to throw him under the bus, huh? They're just as banged up as we are. And it was not a fun game. It was actually a pretty bad game. But somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. John Niner says, late as usual. I am, man. I wouldn't be me if I wasn't late. Even if it's only by a minute. For some reason, I can't get on time. But I had a real excuse today. But it doesn't matter. I'm late all the time. So whether I have a legitimate excuse or not, I'm generally going to be late. Which I have to stop doing that. But I'll get my act together. Next year. Next year's a new year. I'll be better. Eduardo says, honestly, as long as someone beats Louie, it's lit. So Emerson, go whoop some ass. I'm done in terms of being able to win. That ship sailed a long time. I just wanted to... There was a list of about 6 cats that I thought I was going to be able to catch. And I really had a great opportunity 2 weeks ago when everybody was losing. And there was about 3 games in there. And I finished up at, I want to say I went 9-7, 8-8 2 weeks ago. I got the list in front of me. I don't know why I'm trying to guess. I went 8-8 last week. And there was about 3 games. Let me look at the list of games right now. That, boy, they hurt my heart. Let's see. Minnesota had a chance to beat Carolina. They effed up at the end of that game. Chicago destroyed Cincinnati. They never had a shot. I'm still talking about that Green Bay-Cleveland game. That one hurt my heart. Dallas and Giants. I was adamant about that one, too. And it was 10-10, and the Giants played so awful in that game. Had they gave me half of what they gave against the Eagles this past week, they would have beat the Cowboys and beat them handily. That game was 10-10 midway through the 4th quarter, and then they just imploded. Tampa Bay, Detroit. Tampa Bay lost by a field goal in the waning moments, and they had 5 turnovers in that game. Those are the kinds of games that I just say to myself, are you kidding me? When you lose and you actually go and watch and see how you lost, those are the ones that frustrate you the most. I told everybody that Tennessee was going to lose to Arizona last week. That was a hell of a pick there. They got it done. I deserved to lose the Redskins game. That was probably the worst Redskins game of the season versus the Chargers. And the Jets also Didn't expect them to get shut out on the road versus Denver. I don't know if they were supposed to win or not, but I didn't expect them to get destroyed. And Josh McCown broke his hand. That didn't help either. But I just gave you 3 games: Minnesota, Cleveland, and the Giants. 4 games: Minnesota, Cleveland, the Giants, and Tampa. All winnable games. All came down to the final moments, except the Giants game. And again, they had the football at midfield, 3rd and 7, 10-yard completion to Sterling Shepard to get him in the field goal range. Oops, he drops it. They punt. The Cowboys run off 20 unanswered points and win that game 30-10. So, felt like I made some good picks then, and I didn't take advantage. And I said last week on the show that a lot of people are going to lament a missed opportunity last week. Like my man Andrew Kim, I said, hey, you had a chance to really go after BE because BE struggled last week. And I said, hey, you got a chance. You had a chance. You blew it. And I felt the same way about me as far as catching some of these people in front of me. And this week was another week where I didn't necessarily blow it, but I couldn't afford to have people getting 3 and 4 more wins than me. And it happened. So I got to take the L on this one, man. Like I said, I'm going on IR. Going on IR. There's not much more I can do with 2 games left. Brown Shoe T2 says 14-2 this week. Best week for me so far. I'm pulling away from you, Lou. You actually are. You were the one that I said I was going to. I knew I was going to catch you. I just knew it. And when I seen you went 14-2 this week, I said, damn. BST2, gone and left me. And I ain't mad at you, man. I am not mad at you. You had a hell of a year. Honestly speaking, you're probably, if there were NFL awards to be given out for this show, you would be the most improved player. You would get the most improved player award. And right now, BE would get the MVP. And you would get most improved player. And MJ Mayer would probably get Rookie of the Year. Some other cats that might be in consideration from that, though. Because there are a number of you who haven't played before, so you would all qualify for Rookie of the Year. But you've been outstanding this year, so I got to give you credit. Eduardo says, shouldn't the refs be on the loser side? And shouldn't Louie be as well, since he did talk a lot of trash throughout the season, and bam. I'm going to talk trash. I'm a confident guy, man. I'm going to talk trash regardless. So, and when I do these graphics, it's not necessarily, like when I first started out, I would put winners and, on the winners arrow side. I don't even do that anymore. I just, whatever the biggest stories are, go on the thumbnail or the art. So, I could definitely, one thing you'll know about me, for as much gloating and trash talking I do, I'll be the first to tell you when I take an L. And I took one hard this year, man. This one stings more so. I'd much rather get it out the way this year, though. I did console myself by telling myself, hey, I'd much rather you take the L this year when there's nothing on the line than next year where there may be a cash prize involved. Then I'd really be hot. So get it out of the way now. Get it out of your system now. And be better next year. And I intend on doing that. So we'll see what happens with that. BE says, hey, you're alive, LOL. Better late than never. Yeah, I'm alive and well, man. Oh, man. Reese says, what up, Lou? Bucks placed 5 players on IR. Looks like we're prepping for next season. Didn't I just say that? There are a number of teams doing that. When you're out of it at this point of the season, there's no reason to play your guys that have been being warriors for you and gutting it out and not practicing all week, but then playing. There's 2 games left. If a guy's banged up, no needing sending him out there banged up and having him exacerbate an injury that requires surgery, and all of a sudden now he's not ready for training camp next year. That's dumb. So you're one of about 7 teams who you're starting to see a mass exodus of guys hit IR. My team did the same thing. We had a number of guys hit IR here over the last 2 weeks. So in any event, Reese says, do you think the catch rule needs to be addressed? It's deciding the fate of too many games. Yes, it does. And I think it will be this year. They've got to make some adjustments to it. You know, like this one was worse than the Des Bryant one. This one was like 10 times worse. Because at least in the Des Bryant one, you could argue if there was ever possession by Des Bryant, even though that one seemed like a catch too. This one, this was clear possession. I mean, the man caught it, pulled it to his chest, then took a knee, which to me signifies he's a runner at that point. When the guy has a chance to pull the football in, to me, which is a football move, a football act common to the game, he then takes a knee. One knee is 2 feet, and then turns his body, which means he's got control, and lunges. The ball breaks the plane. To me, it's done. Forget about maintaining possession throughout the ground and all of that garbage. Miss me with all of that. To me, they have to make the necessary adjustments to prevent something like this from happening again. Because like you said, this could decide home field in the AFC, and that could be the deciding factor as to who goes to the Super Bowl. I mean, you can't have that be. And again, the Steelers still had an opportunity. After that missed call, they still had an opportunity to go out and win the game. It's not like that was the last play of the game. So anyway, John Perez says, you went MIA and Brian Emerson filled in briefly. Hey, B, he probably did. He probably did. Reese says, I heard Mike Smith say recently that sacks are overrated. He actually said that. Ask the Jaguars if sacks are overrated. Sacks are only overrated when 2 things arise. One, you're not getting them, which is why he said that, because his team isn't getting them. So it's easy to dismiss it when your team isn't getting them. And 2, if you subscribe to the theory, and this is actually a factual theory, that sometimes pressure is just as good as a sack. Now, the only time pressure is just as good as a sack is when it, A, results in a turnover, or B, results in an incomplete pass on a 3rd down. That's the only time that a sack is just as, or a pressure is just as good as a sack, because you'll take the turnover all day long over a sack. 2, if you get an incomplete pass on 3rd down and the other team has to punt, then you got what you wanted. You're going to get the football back. Now, sometimes you get pressure and the quarterback throws it away on a 3rd down, but they're in field goal range and a sack would have put them outside of field goal range and possibly forced them to punt. That's when you would prefer a sack. But 9 times out of 10, sack is always better than just pressure. So he's saying that because the Bucs are one of the worst at getting to the quarterback. So he wants to downplay it by saying, hey, we just need to get pressure. And we do that. We get hurries. We rush the quarterback. No, you don't. Stop lying. B says Chandler Jones going to be the 2017 sack leader for the season. He already has 15, and he's 1.5 sacks ahead of 2nd place. He's playing well, man. He's really playing well. And I remember a lot of New England Patriots fans saying that he's a guy that gets double digits, and I think a lot of people feel this way about their sack guys. If you're not a major impact player, they get sacks, and the numbers don't really tell the full story as to how impactful those sacks are. Chandler Jones has been one of those guys throughout his career where he'll get 12 sacks, but when you look at the grand scheme of things and actually analyze those sacks, they don't come at the most crucial time and against the most crucial opponents. Well, he's been sacking the quarterback just about against everybody this season. So the only thing is the Cardinals aren't good. They're good on defense, actually, but as a team, they're not very good. Reese says, hang tough, Lou. This is the time of year stressful on all of us. I know, bro. I know. Eduardo O'Neal says, I've been picking 49ers for weeks now. Well, you can't just pick them just to pick them. You got to pick them when you think they're going to win. It's easy to get on the train when they start winning. Now they've won 3 in a row. It's easy to pick them last week after they had already won 2 in a row. And now I told everybody the Titans were struggling, and everyone still refused to listen. I picked Arizona to beat them 2 weeks ago, and once they lost and they only scored 7, everybody said, whoa, Titans are really struggling. He was right. And so everybody picked San Francisco last week. I went against the grain because I thought the Titans would show up and get a win. And for the most part, they did. But they made too many mistakes. Delaney Walker. And it's tough in this league to have one player cost you a game. But I've seen it now in about 3 or 4 instances this season alone where one player's play or lack thereof has cost their team a ball game. The Redskins, Jamison Crowder cost them the game against the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. Literally, his play was so egregious with the pick on the first drive that at worst you were coming away with at least a field goal. But had he caught the football, it would have been probably a touchdown on that drive. And then he has a fumbled punt. He was just horrendous. He fumbled the ball 3 times in that game. 2 fumbles, excuse me. 2 fumbles and an interception tipped right off of his hands. An easy catchable ball. Delaney Walker, a fumble and a drop touchdown in that game was the difference. So, yeah. J. Camman says, I picked the Titans over the 49ers. Went with a Bills will get screwed over by the universe theme. Sometimes they can come back to haunt you, man. Bills never struggle with the Dolphins, though. So I knew they were going to beat the Dolphins. But I, like you, picked the Titans over the Niners. And that was a dagger, man. I watched that game down to the end. And live. I watched it happen live. In 3 plays, Jimmy Garoppolo took the 49ers down the field after Mariota took his team down and got the field goal to take the lead. I thought the Titans were too conservative at the end of that game. Instead of going for the jugular vein, they decided to settle on a field goal. So they deserve what they got. But 3 plays, field goal range, just like that? God damn it, man. J. Camman 99 says, I feel like this week is the easiest week thus far. I probably feel the best about my picks than I felt all year. I haven't even looked at the list. So if you're telling me it's that easy of a week, then I'm inclined to believe you. I mean, I know there are a couple of games like Indy and Baltimore, layup. The Monday night game with or Monday afternoon game, Steelers, Texans, layup. So just looking at games like that I can think of offhand, if there are more like those on the schedule, then yeah, you're probably right. This is going to be a pretty easy week yet again, which is part of the reason why I don't think I can catch up. John Perez says, great Redskins show again on Tuesday. Sorry I couldn't make it back. Got some questions this evening, though. It's all good, man. And John Perez says, what did you think about Myles Garrett announcing he was coming for Big Ben week 1? He has a chance in week 17, so we'll see. Myles Garrett has actually been good when he's played. He's just got to stop jumping off sides. He jumps off sides at least once every game. And it's got to stop. He's ridiculous with that. He's got to cut that out. But, you know, young boys love talking out the side of their neck. And so he wants to go after Big Ben. Cool. Sounds good. Pepe the YouTuber says, man, we all deserve the piss cup for letting Enrique do better than us. And he was due for one, man. Let that man enjoy his glory, man. 14-2. The man, I think he deserves it. Reese says, I hate playing the Panthers, Lou. They always give us fits, especially that damn Luke Key. Y'all stink against them. Only time y'all have a chance to beat them is when Cam is out and y'all get some of Derek Anderson. John Niner says, I'm picking my Niners to upset Jacksonville. Sounds good, man. Good luck with that. John Perez says, what's the deal with Robert Kimdiche from the Cardinals? Just hasn't been what they were expecting. He's dealt with a number of injuries in his young career thus far. He looked so good in the preseason. I thought he was going to have a breakout year this year. Just hasn't happened. You might want to ask my man Reed what's going on with Kimdiche, but from afar, I can just tell you that injuries have really taken a toll on him and not allowed him to maximize his talents. Reed says, Gerald McCoy made the Pro Bowl, Lou. How? He's been a ghost. Levante David deserves it more. He's been our best player this year. Reputation, you already know how this goes, Reed. You've been watching football long enough. You know how the Pro Bowl goes. I don't even know why you asked that question. You know the answer to that question already. JCamman99 says, I was doomed before Sunday even came. I was 1 out of 3 between Thursday and Saturday. Yeah, that's the way. Look, I feel you because I got Thursday wrong, but the Saturday games, I had a pretty good handle on it. A lot of y'all picked San Diego the Chargers, and I knew they weren't going to win that game. I've used the basketball analogy a million times, but I also felt like the Chiefs had righted the ship with the win over the Raiders the week previous. So I felt like they were going to win. I told you, I've made some really good picks. That was a really good one because literally everybody thought the Chargers were going to win. And they didn't win. I could have easily been in your shoes at 1-3 because I made the stupid pick. Both of us made the stupid pick of taking the I'm assuming that you made the same stupid mistake I did of picking Indianapolis on Thursday. So when you start out 1-2 before Sunday, you put yourself in a nasty hole. So yeah, that was tough. Mr. TNA says, in my opinion, the floor was 11-5 last week, which would have been my score if I would have went with that bad man in Carolina and my favorite defense. But I listened to all the people. Yeah, that one, you know what? That one sucked because Aaron Rodgers wasn't right. But I didn't care about that. I was more upset about the fact that even with the 3 interceptions, and the turnovers and all the mistakes and Devontae Adams being knocked out of the game and everything that could go wrong that did go wrong for the Packers, they had the ball with a chance to go tie the game at the end and goddamn Geronimo Allison fumbles. And you best bet your ass the bad man was about to strike. He was going to take him down the field and they was going to score that touchdown and tie that game up. Now, whether they would have been able to stop the Panthers from getting a field goal before overtime and winning the game in regulation, or had they won, would have won in overtime? That's debatable. But they were going to overtime if Geronimo Allison hadn't fumbled, or at least Aaron Rodgers was going to tie that game up. I don't know if they were going to go to overtime because their defense was not good in that game, but they were going to tie that game up, and that's the part that's frustrating. Same could be said with Minnesota the week prior versus Carolina. They go down, they got a chance to take the lead, they got to settle for a field goal, and they would go right down and give up a 65, 72-yard run, something like that to Cam down to like the 4-yard line, and end up giving up the 3rd rushing touchdown of the day to Jonathan Stewart, and they lose that game 31-24, and it's just like, really? Really? So you got influenced by people like me who told you, bad man back, bad man back, bad man back. You got influenced, and sometimes you got to stick to your guns. And you love the Panthers. You talk about the Panthers, Cam Newton, and their defense all the time. So sometimes you just got to stick with your guns, man. Stick to your guns. Travis B says, pretty sure I only lost 4. Chargers, Dolphins, Cards, Steelers. Well, I got your picks right here in front of me, so let's take a look, shall we? See what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have the... Oh, yeah, my fault. I marked off the Cowboys game. They won. So you did go 12-4. I apologize for that. I sure did. I don't know why I marked off your Dallas game, but I'm looking at it. You picked Dallas, and you won that game. So you're 12-4. I'll go back in and make that adjustment to your overall score, which I think will pull you within 3 of MJ, because I think you were already down 1, and I think he was still 2 better than you this week, or at least 1 better than you. Yeah, he was only 1 better than you now that you're 12-4. So I think you're behind him by 2. So yeah, I'll go back in. Thank you for catching that. I'll go back in and make that necessary change. Mr. TNA says the Panthers are the most underrated team in the NFL this season. They are the favorites to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC for me. I won't go that far. They're very underrated in the NFC because the NFC is so loaded. But I don't think they're good enough to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they have enough on offense. Reese says, who's your favorite player on the Bucks, Lou? I don't have a favorite player on the Bucks. I just watch teams. I don't really have favorite players on teams necessarily. Every now and again, certain players stand out, but your roster is not one that has a player that stands out amongst the rest. I can tell you who I really do like, though, as a player. I like Brent Grimes. He's been playing for a really long time, and he's still your best corner. So, you know, yeah, for what it's worth. Mr. TNA says, this season I never saw anything different from the Steelers, which would indicate they have a shot to upset the Pats. What are all drinking by giving them a shot in the playoffs? I mean, you couldn't have watched that game, TNA. You couldn't have watched it. If that's your takeaway from that game, you say that so dismissive, as if the Steelers lost that game to the Patriots 41-17 or 37-20. Like that game wasn't close. Like they didn't get robbed by the officials. Like they weren't up for the vast majority of that game without their best player who left the game in the first quarter. You say all of that as if they weren't missing a vast majority of their best players. Ryan Shazier. I don't think Hayden played in the game. No Antonio Brown for 3.5 quarters of that game. And yet they were up 24-16, 24-19, and then should have been up late in the game after they were robbed. I feel like you didn't watch that game. Anyway, Pepe the YouTuber says, my birthday's in 3 days, so I'm happy, man. Happy birthday to you. Happy early birthday to you. Mr. TNA says, to me, this week looks like a big week and better scores. Looks better than last week. Must be easy. You're the second person that said this is going to be a really easy week. Again, I haven't looked at the games. I know a couple of them offhand, but at this point of the season, though, it becomes a lot easier to pick winners just because teams are out of it. They're throwing in the white towel. Week 17 is always a little dicey just because even the good teams, you don't know what the hell they're going to do. So even a bad team that is quick could conceivably get a win against a good team that ordinarily you wouldn't pick against, but you don't know who's playing or for how long. So hey, warn them again, B3. When it comes to competition, I'm not your friend. I will tell you that from the jump. I'm not your friend. We are not friends. We all kosher and copacetic. We'll sit here, laugh, joke, play, have a good time. But when it comes to competition, we are not friends. We are not friends. But let's see. Enrique says, is 43.33% good? No, Enrique, it's terrible, actually. First of all, you below the Mendoza line. 50% is you're below the Mendoza line. So for every week that has a full slate of games, 16 of them, let's do the math here. First of all, just 50% means you're going to win at least 8 games. 60% means you're probably going to win 9 to 10 games. I want to do some quick math here. So let's see. 16 divided by 10. Let's do some quick math. So if you're at 62.5%, so anything basically above 62%, you're in the winner's circle every week. You're averaging the winner's circle, right? 62% or better. You're averaging 10 wins a week, essentially. For your percentage, though, see, I can tell you this right now. It's going to be around 7 or 6 games a week you're winning, which is terrible. But that's what you've been about this year. Numbers don't lie. So you're right around, it looks like you're going to be right around 7 games a week that you win. Pretty much right on the head. 43%, 43.75% is where you are as far as winning 7 games a week when there's a 16-game slate, which is terrible. Which means you're below the Mendoza line. So pretty much I just answered your question. That is not good at all. J Cam Man said, just skipped a bunch of comments. And we out of here at 11:30. So I'm going to get through as many of these comments as I can in the next 20 minutes. And then we out of here. Man, it skipped a bunch of comments. All right. J Cam Man 99 says, I do score leagues as well where you have to pick score and winner. It's completely different strategy than straight up prognosticating. I only do scores on Monday night as a tiebreaker. Scores to me, I hate scores because then again, I don't give a damn how you achieve victory, just achieve victory. Like when you get into scores and predicting the scores, now you're asking for stuff that's unnatural. Now you're asking for a team that's getting their ass whooped at the end of a game. Hey, I need almost like covering, in betting. Like with the odds, I don't care if you win by 17 or 3 or 1. Just win. I don't want to get into all the minutia of how much you're winning by. It becomes, like you said, it's a lot more difficult when you're doing it that way. I look to simplify it. Just pick a winner. That's all I really care about. Don't care about how much you win by. Just win. So that's basically what you're aiming to do is just win. MJ Mayer 10 says, moving into the top 40 at 69% correct picks. Yeah, that's a high clip. But again, the more you pick, the more that percentage is going to come down. But, 69, I can't knock the hustle, man. Can't knock the hustle. Mark Vaughn says, happy holidays. Same to you, man. Same to you. J Cam Man says, 64%. I look forward to starting this next year, week 1. Do you do playoffs as well? No, I don't do the playoffs this year, but I've got this whole thing in my mind that I want to do. I just don't know if I can pull it off without it. I got to see if I can get all of the logistics down first, all of the legalities first before I unveil it. But I've got this whale of a pool set up. That's all I can really say about it at this time. Sean Mack says, have a drink for me this weekend, bro. Really could use all the good vibes, man. Hang in there, bro. I know it's been rough for you of late. It really has. I definitely will knock one back for you. You know you don't got to ask but once. Never twice when it comes to a drink. So I'll definitely have a glass of wine for you this weekend. Faux show. Oh, just so y'all know, no winners and losers next week. No program next week. I won't be in town. I'll be out of town on vacation. So we'll come back. Don't forget to send your picks in, though, because I'm not running behind anybody, chasing anybody down for picks. I remember the last time I took a bye week, that you guys did a poor job of sending in your picks. And a lot of you missed a week because of it. Send those picks in. All right? Get them in. I'm warning you up front. No winners and losers program next week. I'm not going to be in town. Taking a little reprieve. So get those picks in. And I'll come back the following week and we'll break them all down because that'll be it. That'll be the final episode for this season. So we'll reconvene in 2 weeks and we'll have the final totals. And we'll have the winners, and we'll be able to crown a champ and do all of those good things. So just wanted to remind you guys of that. And I'll do it once more before we get out of here. John Niner says, Week 17, Niners taking out Rams. If they need it, no, you're not. If they don't, yeah, you can have that one. John Perez says, drunk Lou got the piss cup. Nah, not drunk Louie. Passed out drunk Louie got the piss cup. Mr. TNA says, Jordan Howard not being a Pro Bowler is a crime. He's the best back in the NFL for the second season. Wait a minute. He's the best back for the second straight season? What NFL are you watching, TNA? I think you got your wrestling and your football mixed up. Because you can't. He wasn't better than Ezekiel Elliott last year. He was not. He said, with all the respect this year to Bell, Zeke, or Ingram, he wasn't better than Zeke last year. He's not better than Le'Veon Bell this year. He's good, though. And him not making the Pro Bowl is a farce. But you know how it goes, TNA. You know how this is. It's a popularity contest. It's not actually about who's out there actually balling. Once you're in, you're in. He'll get in eventually because what's going to happen is several guys aren't going to want to go, and he's going to be like a third alternate, and he'll get to go. And at that point, if you've never been, you don't care how you get there, you'll take the invite. But he should have been voted in the first time around. Reese says, I heard Brent Grimes is leaning towards retirement, Lou. We're in deep shit if that's true. If he retires, it's because he doesn't want to play anymore. Or he doesn't want to deal with the NFL rigmarole anymore. Got it right that time. Because the guy can still play. And that is obvious if you watch him on a week-in, week-out basis. He's the best corner you got right now. So if he doesn't want to play anymore, that means he's not hurting for money, one. And two, he don't want to play anymore. Mr. TNA says, Tyrod Taylor might not be an incredible quarterback, but the Bills have a shot to reach the playoffs with him. I think they would have been there if not been idiots and benched him. I think you're 1,000% right. I think they could have had a great shot at beating the Chargers had he played in that game. That was a really big miscalculation by that Bills coaching staff, and they're paying for it now because instead of them firmly being cemented in the playoffs, they're going to lose this week to the Pats, and then that's going to put them in a situation where they're going to need some help to try to get in the playoffs. They still got a good shot because the Titans are struggling the way that they are, but nonetheless, I think they could have been in there by now. In any event, John Perez says, do you think this year's draft going to be good or bad? Right now, just looking at some of the hot names, it's going to be a lukewarm draft. It's not one that you're going to get as excited about as last year. The only thing that's better this year than last year, and normally when that's good, the draft is good, is the quarterback situation. The quarterback situation wasn't great last year. No one was really jumping off the table screaming Deshaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky, or Deshaun Kaiser. All right, those guys weren't really, or Patrick Mahomes for that matter. They weren't people that you were willing to go to bat for at the quarterback position. This year, you're going to have at least 2 or 3 guys that people are going to go to bat for. Maybe not ready to start year one, but they have legit NFL talent and have a chance to be a transcendent superstar in this league if they land in the right destination and get the proper coaching. So from a skill position standpoint, last year's draft was way better, especially the running back position. Last year's draft was ridiculous at the running back position. This year's draft has a chance to be really good, but not nearly as good. Last year's receivers weren't great, but they were better than this year's receivers, I think. I'm trying to think who were some of the big name receivers in last year's draft. I think last year's draft was really bad at receiver as well. So I take that back. But I know secondary and pass rusher last year were big positions. And it might be a big position this year as far as the pass rushing department is concerned, but not necessarily the cornerback or the secondary for that matter, which was huge last year. I'm trying to think. Who was the first receiver? Yeah, receivers weren't good. They didn't have good rookie seasons at least. The first one off, John Ross has been invisible in Cincinnati. You got the kid in Corey Davis in Tennessee, and they've been really underwhelming this year, just from an injury standpoint. And you can say that about the last 3 years. We haven't had a stellar rookie class where the receivers just jump off the screen at you in their rookie season since probably 2013, maybe 2014. Whatever the year Mike Evans came into the league, that was the year, because Odell Beckham and Mike Evans might have been in the same class with Odell, and that was one of the best receiver and draft classes we've ever seen. And then the next year it was just as good, slightly Not as good, but it was slightly below the year prior. And then we've had a drop-off every year since. The Josh Doxson, Treadwell, Will Fuller year, last year. I'd even say the year before Doxson and those guys might have been a down year too. But the 2 years previous to that, the 13 and the 12 draft, I think those were outstanding drafts for receivers. In any event, let's keep it moving. John Niner says, Reuben Foster going to light up Leonard Fournette. He better stay healthy. Every week, it seems like he gets dinged up. Jesus Darkside says, I feel like Enrique these past 2 weeks. Yeah, you got to be better, man. I expect better than that out of you. 8-8, 2 weeks in a row. Especially this week. Last week's 8-8, that was justifiable. You know, you could explain that one away. There's no explaining 8-8 in a week where 12-4 was the floor. It's just, there's no way that you can say anything to me to get me to understand how it's okay for you to go 8-8. Reese says, Lou, you tell me honestly, with your sage wisdom, come Black Monday, will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers be on another head coaching search? No, they won't. That 1 year deal that Jason Light got, to me, says, I'm going to give you and your coach 1 more year to figure this thing out. 1 more year. So I'm going to give you this 1 year extension, and I'm going to give him 1 more year. And if it don't work, both of y'all gone next year. That's what that said to me. Because the next time I hire a GM, because remember, when Jason Light came in, he hired Lovey. They came in together. Well, Lovey's been gone, and Light's on his second coach. So now you're looking around and you're saying, hey, man, you done had 2 coaches in here, and we still stink. So now I'm starting to think not only are the coaches the problem, you the problem too. So I'm going to give you 1 more opportunity along with this coach to figure it out. And if we don't take that next step, both of y'all gone. And I'm going to let my next coach come in, or my next GM come in, and he going to pick the head coach that he wants, and we're going to move forward like that. So no, I don't think that'll be the case. But I could be wrong. But that's what that 1 year extension, that's what it said to me, at least. Enrique Valencia says, I deserve that Rookie of the Year award, if we're being honest. Hey, Enrique, chill, man. We trying to let you live this week. Chill. All right? Hey, go ahead. The Mister says, what do you think of Dan Quinn? He has no sense of scheme, just execution. It's starting to destroy my Falcons. We're too talented for this. I like Dan Quinn, man. And sometimes it's not about scheme. It's about knowing your players and getting them to perform and play for you. Like, to me, Mike Tomlin isn't a scheme nor a game manager. He's not a good game manager, is Mike Tomlin. He goes for 2 when he's not supposed to. Doesn't use his timeouts correctly all the time. But he's a motivator. He's a master motivator. And to hell with X's and O's, he just knows one thing. I just know how to get my guys to find a way to win. That's it. I let my defensive coordinator handle the one thing. I let my offensive coordinator handle those guys. And I just motivate guys to get the job done. And I think Dan Quinn is another one of those dudes. I'm going to let my defensive coordinator handle the defense. I'm going to let my offensive coordinator handle the offense. And I'm just going to motivate dudes to want to run through a brick wall for me. And I think if you ask anybody in that locker room, do they love Dan Quinn and would they go through a brick wall for Dan Quinn, they would tell you yes. And to me, that's one of the most redeeming qualities as a head coach you can have. Now, again, we're not all out here to make friends, you know. And if you look around the league, some of the biggest dictators around football are the ones that win year in and year out. But also, there needs to be an element of respect that your players have for you. And some of it is fear. Some of it is just flat out respect, or some of it is love. Whatever way you get it, you get it. I think they love him, man. He's an energetic guy. I love Dan Quinn. I don't know if he's the best X's and O's guy or any of that stuff. I just know that his players love playing for him. And I think there's something to be said about that. I don't think his lack of execution or being scheme diverse or scheme detail oriented is hurting this team. I just think they're a team in a transition. It takes you, as a veteran that's been in the league 5, 6, 7 years, it takes you 2 years minimum to be comfortable with a system. Matt Ryan just got comfortable with Kyle Shanahan's system, and you saw what he was able to do in it. Now you take Matt out of that system and you put him in another new system. It's tough. Matt's had a ton of systems throughout his career in Atlanta. I know he was with Dirk Cutter at one point. He was with Kyle Shanahan. Probably somewhere in there, I'm missing a guy. And now he's with Steve Sarkisian. It's tough when you keep flip-flopping these systems, man. So I say next year, this Falcons team is going to look vastly different and for the better. The fact that they've had some of the struggles that they've had this year and they're still in a position to win the division speaks volumes, man. It really speaks to the head coach and the job he's done this year. Because you've had a couple of points this season where you looked at this team and said they don't have it this year. They just don't have it this year. And they've been able to rally and overcome and win some games that we didn't think they were going to be able to win. Like, I didn't think you were going to win at Seattle. Maybe that was a game that Falcons fans were confident about. I wasn't. You know, and so this is a Falcons team that I think they're right there. They went toe-to-toe with some of the best the NFC's has to offer. And they're not even they haven't hit their stride yet. So I like Dan Quinn, man. I like Dan Quinn a lot. Sean Mack says, it's hard for me to be upset with the call when it happens to Schittsburg. It was a catch, though. I mean, anybody watching the game knows it's a catch. Even Sean Mack, the staunchest Pittsburgh detractor, said, look, man, that was a catch. I mean, it's hard to deny that, man. John Perez says, I really hope the Falcons or any of the surprise teams like the Rams or Jaguars fall apart in the playoffs. I also think the Vikings can make it far. We'll see. Reese says, 1999 NFC Championship game, Lou. Bucks versus Rams. We got screwed out of the catch on 4th and 10. This flawed rule dates back to then. They got to do something, man. It's ridiculous. J Cam Man 99 says, on that Steelers touchdown that was overturned by the refs, did the ball ever touch the ground? I don't think so. How is that not a catch? If you go back and watch it in super slow-mo, his hand actually looks like it's under the ball. Like, I don't know if the ball ever touches the ground, but it was the movement. It looked like it touched the ground. Whatever. It should have been a catch before then anyway. But I agree with you. I'm not even sure if the ball ever hits the ground. The fact of the matter is it was called a touchdown on the field. It should have been, if anything, it took them like 10 minutes to figure it out. If it takes you that long, then that means you're inconclusive and it should have just remained the call on the field. But whatever. John Perez says, sounds like Trent Williams is finally having knee surgery so he can get a head start on prepping for next season. Yep. Sounds like another guy that's going to head on IR with this season pretty much being over with. Vincent Coe says, will no Tyron Smith affect Zeke's performance this Sunday? Probably not, because they run a lot of stuff in between the tackles. From guard to guard, they've been dominating of late. And as long as they've got Zach Martin and the other guard in there, I can't think of his name right now, but as long as those two are in there, he'll have somewhere to run the football. Now, no Tyron Smith can affect the passing game, but we'll see what happens. Vincent Cole also says, I know nobody really paid attention to the Seahawks receivers, but would you like to add a Paul Richardson to your skins? I mean, he's a free agent too. Yeah, we talked about him on the Redskins show, on the Redskins report on Tuesday about him being available, and I like Paul Richardson a lot, and I think he would be an asset to our team. I just wouldn't want to pay him a ton of money because I don't think he's a number one, but I think he would add something to our team that we currently lack, and that's game-changing speed. He's a really fast guy. He's got really good hands, too. He's really underrated. He's just got to stay healthy. That's been one of his biggest problems throughout his young NFL career. John Perez says, any chance we see Joe Theismann being a coach? Nah. TNA says, to me, Ravens or Jacksonville defense have a better shot against the Pats in the playoffs than the Steelers. I see the Pats beating the Steelers with more than 10 points in the playoffs. I just don't know what you've been watching, man. And maybe with the game being in Foxborough, that helps the Patriots out a little bit more. But no way do those two teams you referenced have a better chance at beating the Patriots than the Steelers do. I just don't know what you've been watching. TNA says, Falcons and Saints will have the game of the week. I suggest you all watch that match. I don't know if this one's going to be as close as you think, man. I really don't. And this is the perfect way to end it right here as I go to my picks real quick. My man Reese says, well, will we see you before Christmas? If not, I wish you a Merry Christmas, Lou. No, you probably won't. Unfortunately, you probably won't. So, with that being said, Merry Christmas to you all, man. It's been a joy chopping it up with you guys this year. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if we're going to reconvene before the end of the year. We may not. But I've got a lot of stuff going on next week. So, in any event, man, Merry Christmas to you and to all that matter in your life. Enjoy this time. Don't take it for granted. I mean, my man Sean Mack seemed like he burying somebody every other day. So nothing is promised, especially tomorrow. So I urge each and every single one of you to really spend this time with the ones you love, friends, family, whomever is special in your life. Enjoy these moments. Relish them. Cherish them. Take full advantage of them. And Merry Christmas to you and yours from me and mine. And with that being said, let's get to the picks for this week because I didn't make them yet. And I haven't even looked at the schedule. So I'll be looking at it for the first time with you guys and making my picks. This usually doesn't go well for me. But at this point, I've told you I went on IR already. So I'm not even stunting it right now. But in any event, let's take a look. See what we got. All right, I'm going to write my picks down as we go, too, so I'll have a document of what I've done. So let me write these games down first so I'll have it. So even though I'm not doing it, I'll know what I've done. So we got Indy at Baltimore. So this is week 16 slate. We got Minnesota at Green Bay, Tampa Bay at Carolina, Cleveland at Chicago. We've got Detroit at Cincinnati. Miami at KC. Buffalo at New England. Atlanta at New Orleans, which is probably the biggest game of the weekend. Chargers at Jets. Rams at Titans. Denver at Washington. Jags at 49ers, which all of a sudden has become a very fascinating game. Giants at Cardinals, one of the worst games of the weekend. Probably along with Cleveland at Chicago, but that has intrigue in it for reasons that it shouldn't, but it does. Seattle at Dallas, that's actually going to be a really compelling game too. Just from the standpoint, that's an elimination game. Loser of that game is out of the playoffs for sure. The winner isn't guaranteed anything but a shot to play a meaningful game in Week 17. Steelers at Houston on Monday, and Monday night is Oakland at Philly. All right, so let's quickly go down these games so I can give you my winners and get out of here. Obviously, Baltimore is going to win the first game of Week 16. Minnesota's going to beat Green Bay with no Aaron Rodgers. Carolina owns Tampa Bay when Cam Newton plays. Cleveland. They're not going 0-16. I've said that all year long. I continue to say it. This is it, though. I'm going to go Cleveland one last time. They don't win this game. And honestly, I had more confidence that they would win this game 2 weeks ago than I do now because Kaiser was playing his best football. He had 3 straight weeks of good games. And then he was horrible last week. And he was so bad that Hugh Jackson says, I don't think this kid's ever going to get it, which tells you the Browns are in the market for a quarterback, which we weren't sure just 2 weeks ago. Maybe they liked Kaiser and he was starting to get it, and maybe they would forego a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick. Nope. He already came out and said this kid is never going to get it in this league, and so I don't know if I'm as confident, but I still don't think they're going to go 0-16, and if they're going to win, it's got to be this week. Even if the Steelers don't need it next week, I don't know if they're capable of getting that one. So we'll go Browns this week. Lions at Bengals. Lions need it if they want to make the playoffs. This seems like one Cincinnati, even though they seem dead in the water, seems like one they'll get up for and win, but I'm not farting around with them. Give me Detroit. Miami at Kansas City. Kansas City is back. Give me the Chiefs. Buffalo at New England. New England's going to sweep that division, unfortunately. Atlanta at New Orleans. New Orleans out for revenge. Atlanta has a chance to still make the playoffs if they can beat Carolina at home next week, but I don't see them going into New Orleans with a healthy Kamara. And if Kamara is able to stay healthy for all 4 quarters, he's going to do damage against that Falcons defense. I'll take the Saints. Chargers at Jets. Chargers are going to bounce back from that ugly loss. Rams at Titans. Everybody thinks the Titans are dead. They're not. And they need this game or else they're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to get this game. The Rams are coming off an emotional high. They're on cloud, not 9, but 10 right now. And generally when you get big wins over divisional opponents, when you've been sunned for so long, they've been little broed for so long, and you finally beat your big bro, they're not paying attention like they should be. They're still enjoying what they were able to do to the Seattle Seahawks. And they're going to walk into Tennessee, and the Titans are desperate. Because even if the Rams don't win this game, they win next week against San Francisco, and they still win the division. So they're fine. They don't need this game. The Titans need this game. 1, to stay in the wild card race. 2, if they want any chance of winning the division, they got to win and hope Jacksonville loses. So that week 17 game is for the division at home. So I'll take the Titans. I said all of that to say this. Titans are going to win that game. Broncos, Redskins. I probably should take Denver, but I'm not. I'll take the Redskins. Jacksonville, San Francisco. Boy, this seems like a trap game, but Jimmy G hasn't seen a defense like this before. Not in the NFL. I'll take Jacksonville to run him rugged and have him struggle in this game. He's still going to play well, not well enough to win. Give me Jacksonville. Giants in Arizona. Arizona should take the Giants out. Seattle at Dallas. My heart says take Seattle, but my head says, bro, you know better. Zeke's back. The Seahawks can't stop the run. This could get ugly. Give me the Cowboys. Steelers at Houston. I'll take the Steelers. And in the Week 16 capper, I'll take the Eagles over the Raiders to finish out my Week 16. So quickly to recap, I've got 6 road teams. A little bit more than I would customarily go with, but seems justified this week. So quickly to recap, I've got Baltimore, Minnesota, Carolina, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, New England, New Orleans, Chargers, Titans, Redskins, Jags, Cardinals, Cowboys, Steelers, Eagles. So that's my Week 16 winners. And you get yours in. Just because we don't have Thursday football anymore doesn't mean you can slack off. Get those picks in. And I'm not going to be doing this program next week, so get your damn picks in next week as well. But more importantly, most importantly, above all else, Merry Christmas and potentially Happy New Year if we don't reconvene again before then, to you and yours. I truly mean that, man. You guys are like a part of my family. You're an extension of my family. And so we all family here, man. And this is a season about family. So you guys take care, man. Want to see all of you guys back here in 2 weeks when we do this again. And we have a look back at the season that was, winners and losers, and laugh at some of the good times. Laugh at Enrique. And probably chop it up and talk about how our holidays went. So all in all, you guys, stay blessed. Enjoy, stay safe. But most importantly, man, share that time with the ones you love. And we'll come back and we'll do this again in a couple of weeks, man. Till then, though, Merry Christmas. To all, a good night. Have a good one.